What's up, everybody? We are in the Headspace Studios down in the Limp Brewery Park, and this is the Headspace podcast. I am Fergozo, one of the owners here, and I'm with Patrick. Pat.
Yeah, you just call me Patty, Pat, P, PW.
I love it. And
Yeah.
Pat is a graphic designer.
Yeah, Pat is a
and
graphic designer.
You said pixel pusher.
I push pixels by the megabyte. Holler at your boy.
Which I had never. So I seriously had never heard pixel pusher, and I
It's
work
on my
with.
email signature.
Really?
Dead
Well,
serious.
now you know I don't read when I type in stuff. I'm just like looking
it's
at
all
letters.
right, man.
We just want to know about you, man. So the whole basis of this podcast is just getting to know local creatives, local artists like yourself.
Yeah.
Find out what you do, why you do it, why you're passionate about it, and
Okay.
then so
I'll do
how
my
long have you
best.
been doing graphic design?
Probably about I think 14 years. I mean, if you count going to school, I mean you kind of did it while you were there.
Yeah.
It wasn't any good, but I was doing it.
Now, is it traditional college or trade school or what's
No,
the path?
I went to junior college, community college, whatever they call it here, Merrimack. Solid art program. Yeah, I enjoyed it. I actually really enjoyed art school. Really did. I originally was going to school to be a chiropractor. Honestly, yeah, I was doing I was working on doing a transfer program to Logan, and I was able to maneuver some classes around. It's kind of funny, while I was there, I'd always walk the art wing because I always liked looking at all the artwork, and it was like kind of like pulling me, like a gravitational pull kept pulling me over to that wing, and I would just go over there and like dilly-dally between classes.
Okay.
And I was like, yeah, man, there's a class I can remember, like it's called computer drawing, and that like drew me in. I was like, wow, this is fucking cool. I was like, people are drawing on their computers.
15 years ago, that's like, it was pretty fresh still.
Yeah, like the web design program was like a 1-year program. Like there was like, everything was like a 1-year program. Like half the graphic design associate's degree was like figure drawing and painting and
if you show up, we'll take your money.
Yeah, I'm just like, yo, like half this degree is, like, I'm not gonna pull out my brushes anymore, I mean, I still do here and there, but like I wouldn't do it for work. But yeah, no, it was very fresh.
So how did how do you go from chiropractic, or what, I guess a better question would be, what was leading you down the chiropractic path?
That was more like a family route. I've got an uncle that does well, and I got 2 uncles that do really well in Alabama.
Okay.
And they have a private practice.
Gotcha.
So that's where like my Alabama roots are at. I still got half my family's down there in Montgomery. But yeah, I got 2 uncles that do really well. They're both in the medical field. One's a chiropractor, and thought about going that route.
It was a path.
It was a path.
Yeah.
It just wasn't the path.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny how things kind of like, it was kind of derailed. Actually, it's kind of funny the way it got derailed, and what really like made me jump was I ran into a kid at the mall that I went to high school with.
Now, what is a mall for our younger listeners?
A mall.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no.
Sorry. So you ran into a buddy.
It's indoors.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I ran into a buddy that I went to high school with, and I always took art classes. Always were like, well, if you could take an art class in high school, I was always taking an art class.
Yeah.
So, and he was like, brother, what are you doing? And I was like, nothing, man. He's like, what are you going to school for? I was like, oh, I'm going to be a chiropractor. He's like, chiropractor? He's like, you didn't think about graphic design? And I was like, graphic design? I was like, no, man. Like, he was like, yeah. He's like, I figured you would have went into art or something. I was like, is that what you're doing? He's like, yeah. He's like, I fucking love it, man. He's like, you should check it out. And like, honestly, he's like, I don't know why you're not doing that. He was like, you were very talented. I was like, yeah, I don't know, man. And like, I honestly, like, I didn't see the angle.
Yeah.
And then I looked into it, and it was like, I don't want to say it was the .com boom, but it was like websites was a thing. Like it was like a thing that everybody was needed. Not everybody had one,
Not everybody knew how. You didn't have platforms
Yeah.
back then to
No.
where it's like, oh, you can plug
There's
and play.
no WordPress. Everything was pretty like HTML, CSS, blah 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 blah. So yeah, that's kind of what deviated me from being a chiropractor. And
Which is a
then-
good path for you personality wise, because I've known you for a little bit, and I
Yeah.
don't think you would have loved.
Yeah, I
being-
think I could have did it, but
Yeah.
I would have been like, yeah, when's this over? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's
I'd have probably used it to do something else. I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, income's great. Let's figure out like a different.
how to quit doing this.
Yeah, let's figure out a hustle here.
And it seems like that's the path for a lot of artists is, okay, if I have to do something else, let's stack up as much cash as I can, and then as
Yeah.
soon as I feel a little more stable, it's like, okay, let's go do the thing that I love.
Yeah, that's fair.
So you got lucky,
Doing
you know,
the thing I love,
yeah,
yeah.
doing the thing you love. 14 years doing it. Tell
Yeah.
me a little bit about, you know, working as a graphic designer here in St. Louis, and you know, how do you develop your style? Like, where do you find clients? Like, what are the projects you're working on? Tell me a little bit about your day to day.
Yeah. So I'm an independent contractor. You know, I work independently. And realistically, you know, I split my time between an agency here in St. Louis, and then I split my time with my personal projects with
Yeah.
my people that I work with on a regular basis.
One of the things that really intrigued us about having you on is because specifically your style.
nuts.
Well,
You know I'll say
that's
something.
why I like
No.
hanging out with you.
Yeah, no.
But I wanted to talk about your specific style in graphic design because it is super unique.
Yeah.
And how did you develop that style? Tell us a little bit about that.
You know, I always tell people, like, I'm an old soul. And I know people say that and it sounds so corny. It really does. But, like, I genuinely think, like, I always say this, like, if somebody put a supercar out on the fucking street and next to it they had, like, one of my favorite cars, like a 1980s 911.
Yeah.
I'm like
9/11 all
I'm like
day.
9/11, like all day.
No-
Old 1980s 9/11, or like, you know, whatever.
Yeah, no shot for the other.
No shot. I'm just like, I don't even care. I'm not even gonna look at that. Like, this guy. This is, it's all about, you know, that's what I gravitate towards. Like, I love old cars. I love old trucks. I love old signage. You know,
And-
old crates. I think maybe because I was raised by older people in the first portion of my life, you know, so I got like that old school upbringing and I got that old school taste, and I kind of, you know, was kind of brought up in a different generational upbringing, I guess you
Well,
could say.
that style kind of bleeds through your graphic design.
Yeah.
Because even in like some of the pitch stuff, like we had talked about doing some projects together, and you had showed me some pitch decks that you've done in the past.
Yeah.
And you're always taking old
stuff.
elements and bringing
Yeah.
it into the. I love that.
Yeah, man. I like retro stuff. I like retro tech. Like, I always try to plug in, like, you know, like some of the stuff I do. You'll see a lot of it on my Instagram. Like, I'll use an old desktop screen, or I'll use like a BlackBerry, like, Bold for a mock-up, you know, or like
I think that might be one of the ones you showed. me.
yeah, like
love
I
that.
got like a couple of them, like you know, like a T-Mobile Sidekick, you know, like stuff like that. Like, I don't know, I think it's kind of nice because I think what people do in my industry is a lot. It's like AI is such a big thing, but like before that it was stock. Everything was stock photography, stock this, stock mock-ups, like, and now there's like a whole genre of people that work specifically just like providing unique stock that doesn't look, you know, like
anything like the other stuff.
anything like the other stuff. Like, you can get on fucking Instagram and you'll see the same cheese ball door glass logo mock-up.
Yeah.
You know, or the same sign that sticks out on the top of the building mock-up. And it's like, dude, everybody's seen this.
Yeah.
The
It's
same
being-
business card mock-up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, you know, and that's great. That's fine. Like, I don't think that's a bad thing.
Yeah.
People don't know any better. But, like, for me, like, I hate having anything in common with.
Yeah, it's good for small business, like
Yeah, no.
things like Canva, right?
Yeah, it's
really,
fine.
really, yeah, it is it's fine.
It's
But it
fine.
does take away, like I have a lot of people who work in graphic design, and it is kind of like a slap in the face. It's like, yes, but all you can really get out of that is the model that they give you. It's,
Yeah.
it's tough to expand upon that. It's like a cookie cutter website compared to a coded website.
They simplified it. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I try to do everything
Very, very custom.
very custom. And I think that's what kind of, I'm not going to say that's what puts my work above, but I think those little details can create nice little bits of excitement, and it also can trigger, maybe it's a memory, like, especially if I know like the demographic of person, like the age demographic of a person that I'm working with, like it's sometimes like a nice little connector. Like, oh yeah, I had that. Or,
Yeah.
oh yeah, like I had a beeper like that.
It tugs at the little.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
Subconscious.
Sometimes it's a little thing like that, little subconscious nod. And sometimes it's just like, this is the kind of shit that I like. This is what I'm going to do. I'm not going to do, you know, the same generic stuff. And, you know, it's also like a little bit of nod to my, like, you know, stuff I enjoyed as a kid. Like, I'll put stuff in there that I like. Like, I still go through the toy aisle. I'm 35 years old. I'm still walking through the toy aisle,
Yep.
looking at shit that I couldn't buy it when I was a kid, or couldn't, you know, afford it when I was a kid. So now I'm walking through there, you know, buying a Batman figurine.
I do it. But
Am I gonna sit in there,
yeah.
gonna play in the bathtub with my Batman figurine? Possibly,
Maybe.
you know. But you know, I got a couple of them on my desk. You know, I loved Batman as a kid.
I go
you
through
know.
the toy aisle and I'll talk trash to myself on the
Yeah.
toys. I'm like, dude, that wasn't as good as the GI Joes when I was a kid.
Really?
Like, they make them all cheap
Dude, I was-
now. I was just talking
Dude, I was
trash.
diehard Batman all
Batman.
day, dude. I'm talking about Michael Keaton Batman. That was like my Batman growing up as a
Heck
kid.
yeah.
You know,
Dude, that was the
that was the darker ones. That's why like the other ones that are like really, you know, a little soft edged.
little cheesy.
They're a little cheesy.
What was it? Val Kilmer.
Val Kilmer was one. You know, George Clooney was one.
Yeah,
These
a
Ben
little
Affleck
cheese.
ones. Ben.
A little bit. I didn't watch it, I'm gonna be honest. After the Christian Bale, which wasn't
Christian
bad.
Bale was the next. Like
was great.
That was it. It's Michael Keaton and Christian Bale.
It was on par, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I like them a little dark.
Yeah,
you know,
a
so
little
that's
dark.
kind of what I grew up.
Because the cartoon was dark.
Yeah,
Dude, the cartoon was
yeah,
super dark.
yeah. I liked it. So yeah, that's kind of where I get some of my inspiration. Like I go back and look at like old stuff, and honestly, that's most trends today. Like you could look at even the stuff that Apple's done.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like a complete Dieter Rams ripoff.
Okay, I don't know who's Dieter Rams.
He did a little bit of everything, but he did a lot in product design, specifically. Man, Dieter did a lot of stuff. I mean, he's known for a lot of his like audio and sound, like stereos and hi-fi, I guess you would call it, like old school record players, radios. And there's one that's very specific that inspired the iPod.
Gotcha.
You know,
Okay.
radios, stereo systems, yeah, speakers. He's designed some beautiful stuff. Even like there's a very iconic like Braun watch. If you've seen it, you would recognize it. But yeah, like he did a lot of stuff for Braun. He's done a lot of really cool stuff. I'd love to have like one of his stereos, but they're about like 3,000, and I don't know where to put one. I'd get one, but honestly, I think that's probably the bigger problem.
I was gonna say, yeah.
Where the fuck am I gonna put this?
I like that the cost wasn't even the problem. It's like, you
Yeah,
know
it's
what?
like-
I'll spend the money. I just
I'll
don't know
spend the
where to
money,
put it.
but it's gonna look real dumb in my room.
It's not gonna be great.
That's
in the
why I need a space.
Yeah.
I need a space so I can get that stereo.
There you go.
In another painting of Keanu Reeves.
Yeah, we already have one.
Yeah, I got a painting of Keanu Reeves. Yeah. Man.
A legit like painting.
Oh, a legit painting.
Who did the painting?
Hendrik Pachowski. No, man. I hope I don't butcher that. Henrik. I'm just gonna say
Hendrik.
Henrik.
First
Henrik
name
with-
basis.
Yeah,
He's
Henrik
not-
is really good. He's from St. Louis.
He's from St. Louis.
Phenomenal guy.
Nice,
Really,
dude.
really
Okay, we'll look him up.
interesting
We'll try to
guy.
get him on. That'd be
Does
great to talk to
beautiful,
him.
beautiful work. And Henrik, he did a Keanu Reeves painting for me. 4x4. It's 4 foot. It's big. I love it though.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's the
That's
John.
so
It's like the
great.
John Wick. It's from John Wick. I know it's from John Wick. I can
That's
tell
sick.
by the hair
I
and the
actually
goatee.
love that.
But yeah, he's one of my favorite people. God,
And
CC wanted to kill me when I wanted to get this thing, and then she finally broke, and then she went and got it for me as a
that's
gift.
good.
Yeah,
Heck yeah.
yeah.
Well, I'll have you
yeah.
show me afterwards. I'll look 'em up.
absolutely.
Tell me a little bit about your relationship with the St. Louis art community as a whole and kind of what you want to see. Like, where has it been? Where would you like to see it go?
Well, design community wise, I think there's a lot of good leaders here, and then there's a lot of people that shouldn't be talking.
Okay.
But I think there's a lot of really good leaders here, and I think there's a lot of people that just they join a committee and they join a board and they and they just
Bureaucracy. It's
there's
funny
not
that
a lot.
you
Like
have-
I've gone to some of the events, and some of them are good, and then some of them I'm like, all right, I'm ready to go. Like I think I've told a good friend who does a lot of the events here. She does some of the events here. If I'm gonna go listen to somebody talk, like I equate this to jujitsu.
Okay.
I want a fucking black belt in the room.
Yeah.
I don't want to be listening to a blue belt.
For sure. And that's fair.
Like I want the real deals to stand up. And there's a couple guys who own agencies here in St. Louis that are phenomenal talkers, and there's some people that like you never even hear from. And then even there's some really, really talented graphic designers, and I don't know, if it's, I don't want to say political thing, meaning like actual political, but maybe it's like a clique thing that like they don't get these people to go out and talk. Like,
Yeah.
I have a
It's funny or interesting that we would have, like, you have to have some type of bureaucracy within a community
Yeah.
that grows, right? But as artists, that's the thing we're worst
you're-
at, right?
yeah, but your skill set should be like what
agree-
you're like.
agreed.
Like I don't want to talk to the guy that's telling me about Canva.
Again, I'm not going to be talking.
No,
like I
don't
shouldn't.
worry.
No,
Don't worry.
But no, you're spot on. But I
Like-
think it's funny because we're bad at bureaucracy because we're artists, so we don't organize correctly always.
Yeah.
It's always like, let's have this guy talk because he's good at talking.
Yeah.
But hold on.
Yeah.
What about the black belt? In
And
the
maybe
corner?
I'm a snob, but like immediately I go to look at somebody's portfolio or the work they
Yeah.
do or what the stuff they're interested in, and that's kind of like what I base it on.
Yeah.
Like if I see like a guy that I'm interested in. And there's some really good people. We have some really great agency owners here. We have some really good, even fine artists here in St. Louis. Like I'd go out.
Next question is, where do you want to see us going? Like, as the art community as a whole, and I know we're in different spheres. I'm more attuned to music than I am anything else. Co-owner of this photo studio, which I'm a little attuned to. Graphic design, I don't have anything as far as like I don't know the community, but you do. Where do you want to see that community go, and how does it prosper into something or grow into something that is more? Because St. Louis is a growing city. In the last 6 years, that's how long I've been here. It's growing in business.
Yeah.
And it's fun to see.
It is in some sectors, and then it isn't in some sectors. I think pricing. Here's what, like, in a perfect world, I eventually see. I wish graphic design or graphic artists, I don't want to say unionize, but they need to get their shit together where everybody's on the same page with pricing.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like that in music. It's like, hey, I'll play at your bar for free. It's like, hold on, we're charging $250,
I think
$500.
like I'm not gonna say like the unions do it like 100% right, but they have the pricing together and they protect their value. And I think that's something like I wish, like there's such a disparity in
pricing. You got one guy doing something for $100, you know, and then you got another guy doing something for, you know, $2,000,
Yeah.
you know,
And the
it's
gap
like,
is so huge.
And you're like, you know, somebody comes to me for, you're gonna do a brand, and like I hit them with a number like 5, and they're like 500, and I'm like, no,
No, add one.
Yeah, I was like, we're missing a comma.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, and then it's like, well, why is it so high? And I'm like, well, go to an agency and walk in the door and tell them that your budget's 500.
Yeah, they'll
and
say,
then they're gonna say,
have you heard of Canva?
yeah, they're
And
gonna
they'll just
say,
give
have
the
you heard of
website.
Canva? Have you heard of Fiverr? Have you heard of this?
Yeah.
And then they're gonna say,
That's where it's
yeah,
at.
and then like my price point makes sense, and it's like, okay, well, to walk into the door anywhere, you know, in the design district, you got to be like $30K to $50K to walk into most
Yeah.
of those shops, you
Yeah.
know, like, and it's like, all right, well, does 5 sound reasonable now on a
Yeah.
3-part payment plan? You know, like,
Well, I think as the city becomes more of a art city,
It can. It's got the
I think it's
possibility.
got the potential. When I came to St. Louis, and I'm going to use an anecdotal experience in music,
Yeah.
and maybe some film stuff. So when I came here, I had a wedding planning business in California. I was doing about anywhere from $1,800 to $2,100 a wedding. And I came here and the market just wasn't there. They were like, oh, for weddings, like we do like 150, and that's pretty good.
to do what at a wedding?
To
Jump
sing,
out a
to
cake
sing,
or
to
what?
sing at a wedding.
Oh, to sing,
to sing
at a wedding.
do some music,
right.
you know, do basically from.
Like you were still dancing.
Yeah.
You're not,
No,
jumping out of cake.
No
cupcakes
cake,
and
no
shit?
cake, just
All right.
music. But the disparity, like you said, the disparity from
Yeah.
what people expected to what the actual dollar cost was, it was
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
far
yeah, yeah.
apart. It was difficult to. I couldn't do it. I had to go do something else. And I know that this city will get there, and I know that our.
I don't know.
You don't think so?
I don't know. Here's the reason why. Things like Fiverr, things like Canva, things like AI.
Yeah.
So what it'll do is, which is fine, it'll eat the weak. It'll eat
Yeah.
the people that
Oh,
are less
yeah.
talented.
Yeah, that's for sure.
And the people that are specialized will become a unique commodity.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where it's got to go. But like people have to get in line with pricing. You see pricing on the coast, the dollar per hours, the fees, the retainers. They're night and day from people who work in the Midwest. And it happens with me when anytime that like I talk with somebody from one of the coasts, they're like, oh, you're in St. Louis? How's $50 an hour sound? And I'm just like, yeah.
Is that how
no.
people from?
That's not how they sound, but I think that in my head, that's how
know,
they sound. Because I'm like, God,
Yeah,
you're
'cause-
pretty obnoxious because you're
You're thinking you can come and get a discount
because
just
you're
because
using
I
a guy in the
live- yeah,
Midwest,
yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
And that's the way they see some of the markets.
The hope that I have, or the thing that I've seen, because again, originally from California, and I've seen people exiting the state like crazy and looking for other places to go.
Yeah.
They've crammed into Austin. They've crammed into Atlanta.
Yeah.
They've crammed into Nashville.
Yeah.
Right? And I feel like St. Louis is one of those spots that has not been completely jumped into.
Yeah.
I know we got the film credit that just popped off this year that became available for film to come in. So I know that
Yeah.
it opens up the arts.
Yeah, I hope it does. I hope. I don't want to be right.
Yeah.
I want to. The biggest thing is I just want to position myself for that wave of everybody thinks that they can get this done on their own by doing like, 60% quality.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, I got it done.
Yeah. One of the coolest lines I've ever heard in talking about price disparity is how the brand sees themselves. So you always ask like, hey, well, are you a high-end brand or are you a low-end brand? Oh,
Yeah,
we're
high-end
we're a
yeah.
high-end brand. Okay, well then you're gonna have to pay for high-end work
Yeah.
or your brand's gonna look low.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's simple. You ask people how much do they want to make and how much do they want to invest.
Yeah. Another
And
funny
it's like,
one
oh, like,
is
well, you show me a business where I can do, 100x and my initial investment is this.
yeah,
I'll just do that.
exactly.
I can already do the part you don't want to pay for. What's
Yeah.
stopping me? You know?
Yeah. Another funny one or another good one if you're watching this video and you're like, oh yeah, how do I not close, but how do I sell my value as an artist? you can ask the client. You say, well, we do advertising for web. And they're like, hey, can you run our ads? Can you do X, Y, Z? And will you do it for 20%? Can you give us like a 20% discount? It's like, yeah, it's funny how this thing works on the back end. I actually can give you a 20% discount as long as you're willing to knock down your price that we're selling things for 20%.
Yeah.
And they'll always say, well, I can't do that. Oh, okay. Then, if you can't do 20%, we definitely can't do 20%.
Yeah,
It's a joke, but
I heard an agency owner that's very well respected, and I really like his work. He said somebody asked him, "How do you pitch, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera?" Whatever the rest of the question is, but they used the word pitch, and he's like, "I don't pitch."
I like that.
He's like, "I don't sell."
Yeah.
He's like, gives them direction. He asserted himself as the expert.
Yeah.
And he gave them the options. And honestly, like, I mean, you got to lay it out on the table,
Yeah.
and he's got it. He
Yeah.
can do that. You know what
That's
I mean?
huge.
And like,
No pun.
he's the real deal. But when he said that, I was just like, and yeah, there's a reason why I was at that conference listening to him talk or the whatever. And I was like, because he's a really, really well respected guy. And I was like, I can kind of see where and why he's successful in the industry.
Yeah.
So yeah, I kind of try to embody that as much as I can. I try to stake my claim as the expert and, point people in the right direction.
Well, I'll tell you this much, man. Love your work.
Thank you.
That's why we asked you to come
appreciate
on.
that.
Really cool, unique perspective. Before we get out of here, tell me a little bit about outside of the arts. Outside of the arts, and I'll just tell you what I'm trying to get at. I'm trying to get at some hockey, dude. I want you to talk about it.
Hockey?
Yeah, didn't you play?
No, not
Did you
anymore,
play a little
man.
bit? Well, no, not anymore. Ex-athlete to ex-athlete. I wanted to hear some cool hockey stories. Maybe a Happy Gilmore stab a guy with a skate or something.
The stuff that's probably out there, I was really good at prank calls. I was an expert at prank calls as a kid. I think I grew up with my older cousin Joe. And I grew up through the era, people might not even know what the fuck I'm talking about, but the Jerky Boys.
Okay.
The Jerky Boys. Look it up. The Jerky Boys was...
I don't know if I know that. I'm the
You know
same
who the fucking
age.
Jerky Boys are?
No.
Nah, it's all good.
All right.
Well...
You were into weird stuff as a kid.
Yeah,
Fine,
I guess so. I guess in the weird shit. But it was these tapes, and it was basically like prank calls. And then they made a movie.
Crank Yankers.
Yeah, but
Like
this was
that,
before
but
Crank
but
Yankers.
better.
Crank
But-
Yankers.
got it,
Yeah, this was a little more explicit than Crank Yankers. So as a kid, I used to love prank calls. Loved it. And I would do this all the time on our hockey trips. So we were in some area, and I'm driving through a town, and I'd see like some weird little mom and pop restaurant. I'd call. Like, we'd call a barbecue joint and ask them if they got anything for vegans, and just to see what kind of reaction you would get.
Hockey players are, well, the reason I asked you about hockey, because hockey players are a lot like wrestlers. They're just, they're a little weird.
Yeah, just better outfits.
Yeah. What do you mean wrestlers have better outfits?
Yeah, the spandex and earmuffs is a good
This
look.
is a good one.
This is
It's
a good
tough
look.
to
Now I'm
beat.
gonna get it at the jiu-jitsu gym for all the wrestler guys out there.
Heck yeah. And that's new too for you.
That's new. That's life changing. But yeah, man, the hockey stuff. Yeah, I did it for a while. I loved it. I played ice hockey and roller hockey, but
Well, it's funny. It's funny that I mentioned that those types of people are similar because then you found your way to jiu-jitsu,
Jiu-jitsu.
which again, wrestlers jiu-jitsu. It's a special type of weird person that loves that.
I love it, man. Honestly, I couldn't find anything that like really hooked me until I found that. Shout out to Kyle Watson. It's a fucking great place, great community.
Yeah,
I
they're
got
cool
a great,
over there, dude.
I got a great team over there, and I had a really good buddy get me into it, and they really know how to nurture new people, and I think that was really great. Is like the introductory classes, and they're like basically their freshman program.
Yep.
The little Watsons, as my friend Nick calls it. You do like the class for like 3 months, and then they graduate you into a bigger class, and then after that they graduate you into an advanced class, and
Ease you into
it's ease you into it, and it's not quite like throwing you in the deep end with dumbbells
Here are-
tied to your feet.
Yeah, here's
You're like, all right,
killers.
here's a killer.
Yeah, come play with him.
Yeah.
Just roll around with him
And-
for a little bit. See what
and
happens.
Your neck and elbow and joints are gonna feel
Yeah, just tap
rough.
quick. Tap quick.
Yeah, no, man, I love it. So yeah, it's a great place. And it's been good. It's the one thing I always tell people. It's the one thing you can do that there's no fucking chance you're gonna think about work or anything else while you're
dear
there, because
God.
you would have to be nuts
Yeah.
to be thinking about a logo or a website or
Yeah.
an email while somebody's sitting on your neck.
Yeah, you're trying not to die.
Yeah, there's a guy sitting on your head trying to pull your arm back, and all you're thinking is, how the fuck did I end up here?
I wonder how that pitch
Yeah,
is gonna
this
go.
chair
Yeah.
sits really comfortable on the ears. Yeah, no, it's great though, man. I love it. But yeah, it's been a great transition for me, and it's a good community.
Awesome.
Um,
Well, any other projects that you want to chat about before we get you out of here, man?
I always talk about how I've been procrastinating on my own brand, but that's one I've been working on a lot lately, and I got some special stuff that I'm gonna show here soon. I've been like every other graphic designer. Takes forever to update your portfolio or build yourself a new website, but I'm close to putting out a portfolio, and I think what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna do more stuff like this, like talk about the scene and talk more, blog more, like not AI blogs.
Lay it on the table
not
more.
Chat GPT bullshit. Like I'm actually gonna go out there and I want to talk about some real shit, talk about the industry, talk about rebrands and trends, and just give some honestly like some no filtered opinions on things.
Yeah.
So that's kind of if I can give you a little sneak preview, a little peep show of what's gonna happen. Like that's kind of the project that I've been working on. It's been near and dear. I've kind of taken my independent projects a little more to heart and growing my brand much more. So right now that's probably the thing that I'm working on the most outside of all my ongoing projects.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Well,
that's the shining light at the end of the cave.
Yeah. I'm excited to see it, dude.
Yeah,
This
man.
stuff is always awesome. Loved having you on,
Yeah.
chatting, and
What about Nate? You think we're gonna do anything to make Nate feel uncomfortable?
we can talk about him. He's just standing there. What's weird? Okay, so what's
Here's
weird?
here's what's strange about Nate. We don't know anything about his parents, and I'm still trying to figure out, because I think Nate could be from somewhere else, and he's not really telling us.
We think he's adopted.
I think he's adopted too, and he came in here with short sleeves, and he had some kind of hieroglyphics on his arms, and I'm not quite sure what it meant. It could be tumble dry on low heat, or it could be, death to America.
Oh, Jesus. And episode 1, we've been canceled. This is beautiful. I love it. Nate's uncomfortable. We're all uncomfortable.
Hey, we can chop that part out.
Yeah,
don't worry.
no, we're keeping it. We're keeping all of it. We're not cutting anything. Hey,
No.
pleasure,
Thank you
dude.
guys. Appreciate
Loved
it.
having
Let's
you.
go have a cigar. What are we doing at?
Hey,
No?
that's a great idea. That's actually an awesome idea.